A big good morning from Christchurch, New Zealand, and welcome to the This Is New Zealand webinars, sponsored by the Bank of New Zealand and Migration Cover. My name is Bore Chum. I am a licensed immigration advisor and managing director of Migration Associates, based both in the UK and New Zealand. And I'm here to discuss and to provide you with some information about the lifestyle in New Zealand. Joining me over in the UK is my colleague Rachel. Over to you, Rachel.
Thank you. So my name's Rachel Beattie and I'm based here in London. I'm the candidate manager for New Zealand Skills and Demand. So I'll be talking later on about how we can help with the job side of things, and also talking about life in New Zealand as well.
Fantastic. We also have Susanna Dyson, who's in the London office too. She'll be answering any questions that you may have, so feel free to engage with her, ask any questions on the portal there, and she'll be more than willing to assist or guide you in the right direction for those for the answers to those questions. So it's relatively stress-free. We're here to provide all this information about New Zealand and the lifestyle there. So we'll kick into the presentation. So basically what we're going to be doing is with this seminar, with the webinar, we're going to have an overview of New Zealand for approximately 30 minutes, okay, and that's going to give you some really good information about the lifestyle in New Zealand. Rachel will then present, and she'll talk about how to get a job in New Zealand, and that we envisage that will take 10 minutes. I myself will go through the immigration process. Again, hopefully that will take 10 minutes. And then we'll open up the floor to questions and answers, and that session will last around 5 to 10 minutes. So just before we start, a lot of the links that we provide in this presentation will be emailed to you after the presentation, and also you'll get a recording of this webinar so you can run through that at a later stage. So we'll kick off and go through New Zealand in numbers. Okay, so New Zealand, we have a population of around 4.5 million. Okay, a third of the population live up in Auckland, and the population and the ethnicity, etc., is made up of around 69% European white New Zealanders, around 15% Indigenous Maori people, around 9% Asian, and 6.9% non-Maori and Pacific Islanders. So if you know a little bit about New Zealand and have seen our All Black team, you'll see that we are very multicultural. We do accommodate a lot of cultures from a lot of countries, we are very accommodating to foreigners. The need for skilled workers has meant that a lot of people are getting used to living and working with other people from different parts of the world, and we're certainly very multicultural in that aspect.
Okay, so a big part of making the move to New Zealand is probably the weather, and depending on where you are in the world, you might want to get away from some awful weather. So New Zealand has mild temperatures and moderately high rainfall, and quite a lot of sunshine hours throughout the country. New Zealand's climate is dominated by two main geographical features: the mountains and the seas. January and February, we're a little bit back to front, being down under. January and February are our warmest months, and July is the coldest month of the year. So in summer, the average temperature sort of ranges between 20 to 30 degrees, and in winter you can be looking at 10 to 15 degrees. Auckland, which is the largest city in New Zealand, has quite a warm climate. The summers can be quite hot and humid, and they have very mild and damp winters. Christchurch, where I'm from, has quite a dry climate. Maximum temperatures daily can be around 22 degrees. Normally in winter, I find the mornings are quite frosty, and then it becomes quite a nice sunny day in the afternoon. And if you have a look at this chart here, it will go over about the yearly rainfall average. As you can see, you know, Auckland has quite a lot of rainfall in a year compared to, say, London, where I'm based, but the sunshine hours is a lot more greater as well. So yes, you get a bit of rain, but it's definitely a lot warmer than it would be in London.
Thanks, Rachel. Certainly, I can tell you now, coming back and living in New Zealand, you do notice the sunshine hours, and certainly that allows you to have this lifestyle to enjoy. And one of the other key differences about the lifestyle in New Zealand is New Zealand's housing. Okay, as you can see with these pictures, most of the houses are standalone and have the aspect of the indoor-outdoor flow. So having the barbecue, as you can see there, a dining room table with outdoor furniture is a really big part of the New Zealand lifestyle, and that weather allows us to have that lifestyle when the summer nights are long and the kids are playing out and there's a barbecue. So we have the indoor-outdoor lifestyle, which is fantastic. And the difference is that, you know, unlike some countries, our houses are standalone on probably about, you know, 700 square metres of land. We would always encourage people, looking at making the move to initially rent. Okay, so it's really important to understand that most rental properties are unfurnished, apart from, you know, your usual ovens and carpets and curtains. Rent is normally paid weekly. And in general, in most cases, you'd pay 4 weeks bond, which is a deposit, and you get that back at the end of your tenancy if nothing was damaged to the house. A big difference is that the landlord pays the rates here in New Zealand. In the UK, it's called council tax, and this is included in the rental price. In some areas, tenants do not pay for water usage, and it's highly recommended that you, as a tenant, have home and contents insurance to ensure that you are insured for house and contents, and also in the event of theft and fire. Okay, I would really encourage you to look at these websites: trademe.co.nz/property and realestate.co.nz. These websites give a good amount of listings for rental property, but you could also go and have a look at some videos to see what an inside of a New Zealand house looks like, which may be very different to what you're used to in your own country. Okay, it's no surprise that the average weekly rental price is a lot higher for the more populated cities such as Auckland and Christchurch and Wellington. This gives you a bit of an indicative and average amount in New Zealand dollars for what average weekly rentals are. So obviously most of you will need a job offer to get through the visa process, and where that job offer is will dictate where you'll be living. So if I give you an example, if we have a look at Auckland Central, for a 4-bedroom house for the weekly rental is 1,000 New Zealand dollars, and for a 3-bedroom is 850. You compare that to Christchurch, and the 4-bedroom house in Christchurch is 545 New Zealand dollars, and it's 460 for a 3-bedroom. So like all countries, the bigger cities will command a higher rent, and it's important you do have a look at that. In terms of the tenancy, conditions, etc., bond and rent, etc., that website there is very useful. So have a look at that website in terms of what you're obligated to do. Okay. Once you've been to New Zealand for a good 6 to 12 months, and you're going to look to live in New Zealand permanently, buying a home will become a big option for a lot of migrants. Okay. A year goes by, things go by quite quickly, you get settled and you become quite accustomed to your area. It's important to note that most urban homes are standalone and built of wood. Most do not have central heating or double glazing. However, a lot of the newer properties will have. Okay. In terms of looking at property, there are special features in Wednesday and Saturday papers, along with adverts on social media, etc. We have open homes in the weekends and on Wednesdays, and during the weekdays where you're able to visit the property and go through it to have a viewing. In terms of purchasing the property, there'll be solicitor's approval, subject to finance. These are all conditional clauses that must be met before you purchase the house. You know, getting a survey on the house or a building inspection is also very, very common to ensure the house is being built properly and it's all in working order. So big difference in New Zealand, we don't have chains. So realistically, if you saw a house tomorrow, you could potentially buy that within 4 weeks. So it can move quite quickly. And one of the key things that's happened in the last probably 5 years is auction is a very common way of buying and selling a house. So pretty much what that means is that you'll be going to an auction, you'll be bidding for the house against other bidders on the day, and the highest bid would, in most cases, win that auction. So a real estate agent will deal with you regarding that whole process, and purchasing the house will need to be unconditional. Median house prices, as you can see, again, similar to the rental, the most populated cities will command the higher prices. As you can see in Auckland, you're looking at around 851,000 New Zealand dollars, whereas in Christchurch you're looking at around the 450 mark. So a big difference. In most cases you will need a 20% deposit to purchase the property, so you need to factor that in. I would speak to the bank about that, and it's really important you understand that. So you know, these are median prices, so just bear in mind that there'll be a lot more houses that are above those median prices and some below the median prices. Get on the website and have a look at the houses that are available in the regions that you're looking at, and a lot of them do have videos where you can go through the house just to get a feel for what the house looks like.
Okay, so healthcare. In New Zealand, the public health system does provide free public hospital treatments, healthcare during pregnancy and childbirth. They also subsidise on GP visits and prescription medicines. There are 40 public hospitals throughout New Zealand. And we also have something in New Zealand called the Accident Compensation Corporation, which we refer to as ACC. Basically, this is something that once you're in New Zealand and you're working, your employer will pay a levy towards the ACC. So if you have an accident in the weekend, say you're out playing football or, you know, out hiking or something like that, if you have an accident, you are able to claim up to 80% of your income from the ACC, which is really, really handy, especially if there's an accident, you know, that you're involved in with someone else. We don't really have a suing culture in New Zealand. This is when you'd get in touch with the ACC. And as well as the public healthcare system, you know, a lot of New Zealanders do elect to have private health insurance for immediate treatment. You know, maybe you've got something that's not urgent, but you want to go and get it taken care of. There is a wide range of insurance policies with different premiums. If you do take out private healthcare, you are still entitled to the free public health services for accident and emergency care, which is great. There is a really good website, healthfunds.org.nz, which will give you all the information on your private healthcare providers in New Zealand. And this chart here gives you a basic idea of healthcare in New Zealand. You know, a lot of GPs won't charge at all for your children that are under 6 years of age. Depending on where you are in the country, it can be a little bit expensive. So, you know, it is quite good to shop around. The good thing about New Zealand GPs is that you're not restricted to a certain postcode, like maybe you would be here in the UK. You can definitely travel, you know, half an hour if you want to go to the doctor, if you're prepared to do that. Dentists can be quite expensive in New Zealand. So if, you know, sometimes we do recommend getting a bit of a checkup before you head out to New Zealand, because you might find that it is a little bit cheaper in your home country than it is in New Zealand.
So the education system, you know, obviously one of the key things migrants move to New Zealand for is the New Zealand education system, the lifestyle for their children and the opportunities for their children. We have a fantastic education system that's recognised worldwide, and one of the key differences is, I guess, the term dates and how education is provided in New Zealand. So in New Zealand, schooling is compulsory from the ages 6 to 16. Most children commence school after their fifth birthday, so that's pretty much bang on their 5th birthday that they start school. Free secular education is available, so that means that it's state funded. However, you can choose to go and put your kids into private schooling where you'll need to fund that yourself. In terms of the years, we have years 1 straight through to year 13. And we have a national curriculum whereby there are key performance indicators and qualifications that one would obtain, especially through the secondary schooling, in terms of qualifying for university, etc. One of the key things that you will note, and this may affect where you purchase property, is that zoning is in place in certain cities. And what I mean by that is, if you live in a particular area, you will be able to qualify to apply for a certain school. So in some popular zones, in some where popular schools are, you'll find that real estate and the cost of properties will be a little bit more expensive. So when you're looking at purchasing housing, zoning and where schools are will be a very important factor. In terms of the term dates, we start at the end of January for the first term and go through to the middle of April. So this year, the first term will end very close to Easter, which is great for the kids. Term 2 will start in late April and go right through to the beginning of July. Term 3 will start in the middle of July and go right through to the middle of September. And finally, the really tiresome term 4 will start in the middle of October to the middle of December. Now, an important factor to understand is that a lot of people do take annual leave during the Christmas and New Year's period, okay, and the term times do accommodate that. A lot of people have holidays with their children in that big break from December to the end of January. So you'll find that a lot of people take leave and go on holiday with their family. They go camping or go to a beach, etc. during that period of time. In terms of primary school, you'll see that years 1 through to year 6, in intermediate school years 7 to year 8, and high school from year 9 to year 13. In some rural schools, what will happen is that you'll have all 3 in the same school, but generally, in most cases, there'll be a standalone primary school or a primary school that's mixed with an intermediate school. Again, some of you may have a mixture of children at different ages, and it's really important to understand what primary schools you would be looking to send your kids to and where those primary schools are based, similar to the high schools, etc. One word of advice is you may just want to call up some of the schools and speak to the headmaster. If you are visiting New Zealand, there's nothing stopping you from calling a headmaster and asking to go through and visit a school. A lot of our clients have done so in the past, and by doing so, by either speaking to the headmaster or actually visiting the school, you'll get a really good feel about the type of school and the character of the school. So certainly jump on the phone, or if you're in New Zealand, come and visit to get an idea of the school. In terms of post-secondary school educational institutions, we have 8 universities scattered across both the North Island and the South Island, and very worldwide recognised. We also have 20 polytechnics and institutes of technologies, and again, they are scattered across the country in both the North Island and South Island. You do receive a government subsidy, and the student loans are available for the fees. In terms of fees, we're very competitive when compared to other OECD countries. For instance, an arts degree is about $3,000 per annum, and a medical degree is around $10,000. So it really does depend on what course of study you're looking to study in. in terms of the fees, but very competitive and I think very accessible. I think our population here in New Zealand means that qualifications, qualifying for these universities is not as stringent as some other countries where the fees are high, and to get into those universities is very tough because there's so much demand. Some very useful websites that you may want to look at are the ones listed there. They go through, obviously the education system, and you'll find some information about childcare and parental leave, etc.
Now, driving is a big part of New Zealand life, just because our population isn't as big as some other countries. We are quite a car-heavy nation. So with getting your driver's license, the minimum age to apply is 16 years. And there are 3 stages of getting a driver's license in New Zealand. So you go for your learners, which is just a theory test to start. And then your restricted, which you go for a few months later, is a theory and also a practical test. And then I think it's sort of around 18 months afterwards, that's when you would go for your full license, and that's a theory test. And then that means you're able just to, drive around and be a bit independent. But if you hold a current and valid driver's license from an overseas country, you can drive for a period of 12 months from the date that you arrive into New Zealand. So it's quite handy. You don't need to worry about swapping over your license straight away. You can, get yourself sorted and then think about doing that soon. And just having a look, at fees here. I mean, I know that there is a bit of a fee that you do have to pay. I believe it is around $160 to get, an application form sorted, do your eye test, and then also a licensing fee as well. Depending on where your license is issued, you may need to do another driving test before you get a New Zealand driver's license. And we'll have a look at cost of living, because that's also another big part of moving to New Zealand. Some things will be more expensive in New Zealand due to the lack of consumer power and, the distance from the rest of the world. We call it goods and services tax, is 15%. I know, like here in the UK, they call it VAT, so GST is our equivalent. And the New Zealand tax rates on personal income are less than the OECD average, which is good. So here's a few examples of general costs. Petrol is $2.07 per litre. For a postage stamp to the UK, you're looking at $2.20. And a flat white coffee, which you'll be probably drinking a lot of once you get to New Zealand, is between $4 to $5 a cup. Washing machines can be, whiteware in general can be slightly more expensive in New Zealand. So we do recommend, we have a partner called PSS Removals, who, if you are thinking about shipping your household items over to New Zealand, they're really good people to talk to, because sometimes it might work out to be a little bit cheaper to ship everything rather than buy it new in New Zealand. But then in saying that, televisions, for example, we have a shop called Harvey Norman. They sell a lot of TVs and they're quite reasonably priced. So it pays to sort of have a shop around and work out what's going to be more economical, whether you buy brand new in New Zealand or you just ship it over. And here's a grocery comparison between, a few of the different countries. Groceries, I think that the thing about New Zealand is that you do have the time in New Zealand to shop around. Because you've got a car, because you're getting home, a lot quicker, you've got more time to go to the butchers and go to the, the fruit and veggie market. Because you've got a bit more space at home as well, you might decide to buy a big, chest freezer so you can fill that up, and that works out to be a lot cheaper in the long run as well. So it's definitely, it does seem expensive, but you're able to shop around in New Zealand, and that can make it a bit cheaper in the long run.
Okay, so why move? I think a lot of the clients that we're dealing with, the key thing is that people just want that lifestyle. They want a work-life balance. They want the social political environment to be stable. They want the economy to be going well, and most importantly, they just want opportunities for themselves and their children. Certainly, some of the surveys that measure lifestyle go in favour of New Zealand. So, if I give you an example, a Mercer Quality of Life in 2015 rated, Auckland was ranked number 3 for quality of life, which is amazing. And we think Auckland's, the biggest city here, and some would argue that we think our lifestyle is better in other cities. And this is really based on, some of the factors I alluded to before: housing, recreation, education, and political environment. And certainly we're having a lot of interest from a lot of OECD countries, people living in those countries like the US, Canada, South Africa, the UK, who are definitely looking at that better lifestyle. In 2016, the Mercer Cost of Living Survey ranked Auckland number 61, where the most expensive city is ranked number 1. So as you can see, Sydney was ranked 31, Wellington was actually ranked 83, and London was ranked number 12. So, we do come on top and do very well in those quality of life surveys. And if you have not been to New Zealand previously, it's very hard to understand that. For those of you who have been to New Zealand, you understand that, the quality of life is so much better than a lot of the countries in the world, and hence demand to keep that to New Zealand. So again, some other factors, our economy is going really, really well, and we have a strong demand for skilled workers. Our education system is very robust. So 15-year-olds scored ahead of those in the UK on reading, maths and science, and a report from the UN in 2015. In terms of social, political, very safe country, and New Zealand is the least corrupt nation in the world. So that stability is attracting a lot of migrants. In terms of our landscape and the accessibility to a lot of that, in 2008, TripAdvisor named Milford Sound as one of the top travel destinations, and there are people flocking to New Zealand around the world to enjoy the breathtaking scenery that we do take for granted. One of the key things that migrants are looking at New Zealand is that their current host country, or where they're living, is just too heavily populated. So, for instance, we've got a population of 4.5 million, compared to, say, the UK of 63 million. And the key thing is that having a huge population does impact on your lifestyle. And because New Zealand's population is very, very small, it means getting around and signing up and getting services, etc., is a lot easier. So life is a little bit more easier here in New Zealand when compared to some countries that are heavily populated. And space, listen, more people live in Auckland, so a third of our population live in Auckland. We have just got so much space available with that breathtaking scenery. And also, we like to think of ourselves as very innovative, and obviously, we also have given women the vote, first country to do that. We've had a woman Prime Minister, and the Governor General, and in terms of those things socially, we're very well advanced when compared to other countries in terms of when we gave the vote, etc. So that innovation also looks at technology, and certainly we're renowned for a couple of developments in the technology world. Okay, so no matter where you are in New Zealand, you're approximately 15 minutes from somewhere spectacularly beautiful. Okay, we had a client that moved to Christchurch, and he bought a piece of land, he built on it, which was his dream. He was from Birmingham, and he's 30 minutes drive from the beach, and just over an hour to the ski mountains. So he's certainly living the life. He was a construction project manager, and he moved with his wife and their son, who was about 12 at the time. And the last I spoke to him was his son is doing very, very well in school, and they're just loving their new lifestyle. Okay, so these photos show you, a quick snapshot on life in New Zealand. As you can see, you see the beach, the barbecue, and the batch. Okay, and the batch is a holiday home where you retreat to probably over that Christmas period and spend a lot of quality time with your family, and just live that lifestyle and enjoy the outdoors. So that's what I certainly think of when I think about the Kiwi lifestyle. And as you can see, there's hardly any people, and there's just a lot of space and a lot of sunshine. So that is why a lot of people are looking at making the move out to New Zealand.
Cool, thanks, Bore. So now I'll have a chat to you about the jobs and how me and Susanna at New Zealand Skills in Demand can try and help you find work in New Zealand. So New Zealand Skills in Demand is a company that was set up after the Canterbury earthquakes back in 2011. Because it was such a devastating event, there was and there is still a lot of work that needs to be done in Christchurch. So we have an office here in London where Susan and I are based, and then we also have an office in Christchurch as well. So our colleagues Glenn and Guy are based there and help people arriving into the country and seeking out new companies to deal with and just helping out as well. We work with large, reputable and well-established New Zealand companies, so we have really good relationships with them. And in the last 4 or so years, we've placed around 450 candidates into work in New Zealand. So, we've helped them set up a Skype interview and have managed to get them a job offer before they've even left for New Zealand. So what we do is, we sort of came about because of the Christchurch earthquake, but it's such a big project. There's around $40 billion worth of work still to be done. So it's still going to be another 10 to 15 years before the work is completed. 5-6 years on from the earthquake back in February 2011, we're still only 40% of the way through the rebuild. We can't keep up in New Zealand. We need thousands more skilled tradespeople to come to New Zealand and help us with this rebuild. The central city, which was quite largely affected, needs to be redeveloped and rebuilt. There's a lot of key projects going on, like the hospital and a new sports centre and things like that. And also with the eastern suburbs being quite badly damaged, there are thousands of new homes that need to be built in the next 5 years as well. And there's also been a lot of repairs to the horizontal infrastructure as well, so roads and drainage and things like that. But it's all not just about Christchurch. There is a lot of work going on in the rest of the country as well. Auckland and Tauranga in particular, their population is growing. So residential and commercial building consents have reached their highest annual total in over a decade, which is good. The growth in residential activity in Auckland is really good, as it forecasts in 2017 more homes will be built in Auckland than ever before. So that's why we need so many people here helping us. Tauranga has also got a really good construction industry at the moment. And, there's so many building consents that, they say around $62 million worth of projects are being, consents are being put in for, which is fantastic. So what we can do to help you find work and I guess the process that's involved is that it is quite a paper sort of heavy process, but we can help you with that. We need to get an up-to-date CV from you, and we do have a New Zealand template that we can send out to you to help you get your CV up to date. We need you to complete a background, give us some background information. So we get you to fill out a form called a CBD. And this basically just gives us an idea of, your time frames, what part of New Zealand you want to go to, who's going to be travelling with you. It just gives us a bit more personal information as well. We need written references from former employees, and or clients and contact details. And we also do verbal references as well. We need electronic copies of all your qualifications. We need your Skype username, because what we do is, instead of having to go out to New Zealand and do a face-to-face interview, then, we set you up with a Skype interview, which makes life a lot easier. And a really, really important part, and this is where Bore comes in, is that you really need to understand the visa process and how you're going to get out to New Zealand. And he'll touch on that after this. So this is a list of occupations that we can help with at New Zealand Skills in Demand. We are very construction focused, so don't panic if your occupation isn't on this list, because we are just one company, one small company, and there are a lot of recruiters in New Zealand for all sorts of different roles. Two really good websites for job hunting in New Zealand is seek.co.nz and also trademe.co.nz as well. But yeah, if you're one of these occupations, then we can definitely help you try and find work in New Zealand. And part of the process, I guess it's, you're doing the first bit by finding out about, life in New Zealand, cost of living, figuring out if this is what you really, really want to do. The second part is overcoming any potential issues. Do you have a house to sell? Are you selling cars? Do you need to close down a business? Do you have maybe elderly family members that need to be okay with you leaving? You need to have a wee think about that too. You need to work out when you want to arrive in New Zealand, because what we do is we sort of work to a 3-month time frame. Once you've got your job offer, the employer likes you to be in the country within 3 months. So we'll normally engage with you 3 months before you want to leave, and we'll get your paperwork together and get your interview sorted. You need to gather all your documents together that we need and send them through to us, as soon as possible. That makes our life a wee bit easier. You need to get your working holiday visa if you're under 31, or engage with Migration Associates if you need a permanent job offer, and just find out more about what your visa options are. And it's also a really good idea to talk to our partners as well. We'll be putting up their details soon. They're a really good resource and they can make you move a lot easier. We deal with the Bank of New Zealand, they sponsor us. We deal with PSS removals. We deal with Migration Cover, who offer a really good insurance package. Money Corp. So there are definitely lots of people here to help you. And then once you've done all that, the next step is to book your tickets and get on the plane to a better lifestyle.
Thanks, Rachel. I think for a lot of you, it's doing the research, understanding whether or not New Zealand's your chosen destination, and hopefully you're doing it for the right reasons. And as discussed today, it's all about that lifestyle, and also the job opportunities in New Zealand. Now, most of you will probably require a job offer to get through the visa process, and it's really important you understand the visa process. Obviously, the guys at Skills in Demand, they can assist with certain occupations, which are mainly construction and accountancy and finance and some IT. There are other recruiters out there and employers looking at other different skill sets. and it's important that you do look at that whole job search process, because that's obviously going to mean that you can get the visa. And I think Rachel touched on it. You need to understand when you can realistically make that move, okay? Because employers don't want to hear from you if you're 12 months out. You need to be ready to go in the space of at least 2 to 3 months to be considered as an applicant for some of these roles. So leading on to the immigration piece, I think the context of where we're at the minute is really important. Last October, the government changed the policy for skilled migrants, meaning that you need to get a higher point score. We have a lot of demand from other countries looking to come here to New Zealand, and our net immigration has been the highest it's been for a long period of time. So the government have seen this, and to counter the tide of people coming in, they've made the policies a little bit harder, so that we get the highly skilled migrants. And therefore, understanding your immigration is going to be very important because of those policy restrictions taking place because of the huge demand of working and living in New Zealand. Who are Migration Associates? Well, we're a company specialising only in New Zealand immigration. We have a team in the UK and in New Zealand. We comprise of 4 licensed immigration advisors. We've assisted over 2,000 families and individuals live and work in New Zealand. And one of the key things is we have that strategic relationship with the New Zealand Skills and Demand, where the immigration policy is mainly job-led. In terms of where it starts, I think everyone is different. Okay, I spoke to a client this morning who had a brother that's out in New Zealand and working and living, and what I said to him was that you can't compare your brother to you. Everyone's different. What visas you apply for, what documents you will need will be a lot different to everyone else. So what we would encourage you to do, if you haven't already done so, is complete our online form and upload your CV. From there, we can then do a preliminary visa evaluation, and we'll be in contact with you. And this will assist you to understand your visa eligibility for you and your family. Okay, we will let you know what visa you can apply for, the cost and the time frames, which I think is really important. And for those who can be assisted by Skills and Demand, we will provide an immigration report that they would then provide to the employers to say that candidate A or candidate B can apply for a work visa and it should be approved in a certain time. So it gives confidence to employers that you can get through that process, which is really, really important to instill confidence with that employer. So knowing what you need to do is going to be very, very important because you can then start planning, you can then start understanding what you need to do, including, if you're looking to sell houses, etc. Visa types. So the main visa type in terms of getting residency is under the skilled migrant category. And this will give you residency relatively quite quickly. It's points based, so you get points for qualifications, work experience, age, etc. In most cases, with the point score at 160, you need a job offer to get through the process. You've got to be aged between 20 and 55, meet the character and medical requirements. Part of the process will require you to lodge an expression of interest, and once lodged with that 160 points, you'll get an invitation to apply and lodge your application. It's probably going to take 1 to 4 months, in some cases 6 months for it to be processed. I've touched on the recent changes in October. There will be also upcoming changes, which we're aware of. When they will take place and what they are will obviously remain to be seen. This is a widely used category to get residency, and we can certainly go through your eligibility to ensure that you and your family can get residency under this policy. Another way to get residency is the work to residency visa. Slightly different in terms of the fact that you have to work for an employer for 24 months before you can apply for residency. So the skilled migrant category, which is a slide before, that's given to you quite quickly, whereas this one here, you'll need to work for the employer for 24 months. You must meet the health and character requirements and earn more than 55k or more New Zealand dollars per annum. Okay, and the employer must be accredited. Okay, so when you're applying for jobs, or you're liaising with recruiters or New Zealand Skills in Demand, a question that you must ask is the employer accredited? Okay. Once lodged, we're looking at around that 15 working day process, which goes through quite quickly. So just to explain, having this work to residency visa will give you that pathway, albeit at a longer time frame in terms of having to work for that employer for 24 months. If you got a job offer tomorrow, a lot of employers will require you to apply for a work visa, and that's either done through the work to residency visa, as alluded to before in the last slide, or the essential skills work visa policy. You'll need a job offer, you'll need to have qualifications and work experience related to the role. There must be no New Zealand citizens available for the role. You need to meet the health and character requirements. Now, the validity of that visa will depend on the skill level. So some visas could be 12 months, some could be 3 years or 5 years. If you have a job offer with employer A and you're in New Zealand and you get a job offer from employer B, you can change employment, okay, but you'll just need to vary the conditions of your visa. Looking at a processing time of around 20 working days, in Canterbury they have specific work visas for that Christchurch rebuild, and you'll see that this is the mechanism of you and your family getting over there. If you've got a partner, they can apply for a work visa on the basis of partnership, and your children can apply for student visas. So this will be the first step on getting out to New Zealand, and in conjunction with this visa you could apply for residency under the skilled migrant category. For those of you who are under the age of 31, New Zealand does have a reciprocal arrangement for some countries where a working holiday visa can be available. So the example they've given you here is a British citizen. So those under 31 years of age can either apply for a 23-month or 12-month working holiday visa. The purpose is the holiday, but you can work for 12 months on a fixed-term contract. Once you're in New Zealand, you can use this visa to convert to a work visa, and we certainly have a lot of applicants here who have used the working holiday visa as a means to get to New Zealand, obtain work, and then apply for a work visa to stay for longer than the currency of the working holiday visa. So for those of you under 31, depending on your nationality, I would check whether or not we have a scheme with your country, and if we do, I would thoroughly encourage you to consider this as a stepping stone to get into New Zealand. Okay, in terms of an immigration strategy, there are a lot of visas, and obviously, depending on your personal circumstances, it really depends on, a lot of factors in terms of what visas you can apply for. I think for, this move to work effectively for you, you've got to have an immigration strategy in place. You've got to understand how the work visas and the residency visas can work together. You've got to implement that strategy. So for some people, they have a strategy of 6 to 12 months. In the meantime, they're gathering documents, they're making sure that they fulfill obligations. They understand the timeframes and the costs for budgeting. It can be an expensive process, especially if you've got a big family. So understanding how long the visas take and the costs will allow you to budget, and then will allow you to understand when you can realistically make that move to New Zealand. As alluded before, you can apply for a work visa and a residency at the same time, or the skilled migrant category and a work residency if you want a residency a lot quicker, and how things work on the working holiday visa and the work visa. This strategy is just to give you assurances and for you to understand what the future holds and how to kind of implement and get these visas. Okay. In terms of medicals, police certificates, and occupational registration, you must have an acceptable standard of health. I would encourage you to go to your GP, get a general checkup. Medicals must be valid 3 months. So only obtain that medical once you've got the job offer. Okay, there are a panel doctor in your country, so you'll be required to do a general medical and a chest x-ray. So you need to book those, but again, you'd only book those once you've got a job offer. You must be of good character, so get a police certificate. And if you do have any previous criminal convictions, you need to disclose those in your immigration application, because they will come up, and immigration are very hot on disclosure. Okay. For those of you that are in occupations such as teachers, nurses, plumbers, electricians, gas fitters, and many, many more. For some occupations, you must obtain registration to work in New Zealand. It's a legal requirement. And this is an extra step in the process. New Zealand employers will only consider you once you've got the registration in place. So if I give you an example, if you're a nurse, you've got to get your English language test, you've got to apply for nurses registration. That whole process could take up to 6 months. You know, so you need to understand if your occupation needs registration, and you've got to understand the timeframes, because obtaining that is going to be very, very important. And for some occupations, we can assist you with that whole registration process. Okay, why use Migration Associates? Well, listen, I think this is going to be one of the biggest things that you do in your life, and we're licensed by the New Zealand government to give immigration advice. Because we understand the process, we have a high success rate, and we are able to make sure that we circumvent any delays. We will assist you with all the documentation procurement that's required. We will liaise with Immigration New Zealand and your employer to ensure things go through smoothly and that you can get over there as quickly as possible. As I touched upon, we need to create an immigration strategy that you're comfortable with, so we can implement that and make sure that you know, we get through the relevant visa processes and obtain all the documentation required. It's a big paperwork process, so we will let you know we've got templates, etc., that you can use. In the long run, we'll save you time and money, and most importantly, we'll limit the stress levels for you. It is a stressful process. It's not just the visas that you need to be considering. There's a lot of other aspects, and by engaging our services, we'll certainly make sure that you go through the process smoothly and it's done correctly, especially in that environment where things are getting more difficult to get into New Zealand because of policy changes. And in most cases, we'll push you along the process also to minimise delay. Okay. So it is the biggest decision you'll make, you know, for you and your family. Sit down with someone, get the right advice, and have all your queries addressed before you kind of go get into this process. Okay, we have a lot of information on our social media channels between us and New Zealand Skills on Demand about New Zealand. So it's all about getting that research. So Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest in terms of photos. Okay, so I think that really runs, you know, to an end in terms of the immigration piece, and I would be happy to engage with you after this webinar and answer any questions that you may have, complete evaluations, etc. I think what we'll now move into is a Q&A session with all of you, and then we'll close out the webinar. I appreciate your time. So I think the best thing to do would be to ask any questions, and myself and Rachel will do our best to answer those questions online. Okay. So have we got any questions?
Bore, I can see one from Taryn. She's asking, do you need both skills and qualifications? Oh, that's just disappeared. Sorry, let me just find that again. Do you need both skills and qualifications from skilled visa, or is experience enough?
In some cases, experience is enough, but if you're looking to get residency, qualifications will be really important to claim those points for. Okay, some New Zealand employers, in terms of offering jobs, may require you to have some sort of form of qualification. Okay, so we have assisted people without qualifications, but it would really depend on your skill set, etc., and how you can get through the visa process and whether or not you'd be offered a job without. So if I give you an example, if you wanted to be a lawyer, you'd have to have a law qualification, if that makes sense. Okay, so it really does depend on your skill set. Okay, there's a question there about a national security check. Unfortunately, that can take, you know, a good, 3 months, potentially 6 weeks or whatever, Danish, and it's just part of the process. So you just need to sit tight with that. A national security check is completed on some countries and nationalities around the world, and it's just part of that visa process. Stephen, you've got an interesting question there about day-to-day bills compared with the UK. Okay, I can tell you now, having lived in the UK for 10 years and coming back to New Zealand, you know, the bills are a little bit different. Obviously, we don't pay council tax here in New Zealand if you're renting, so that's a big saving here. But I can say that some you know, utilities are a little bit more expensive in New Zealand when compared to the UK, and that's really mainly just because of population. In the UK, there's more competitors for providing utilities, and the cost of those utilities are a little bit less than what they are in New Zealand, just given scale and our population. Despite that, I will say that me and my family do have a lot more time to spend together. Life is a lot less stressful than what it was in the UK, and the weather is certainly a lot better here in New Zealand. So, you know, you do have some costs, but then, you know, I guess the trade point is that lifestyle. Okay. Similar, you know, telephone and internet. It's very similar to all the other utilities. So, you know, there is a cost there. And you know, it's I think just a tad more expensive than the UK, but again, you know, we would happily trade that cost for the lifestyle that we've got. Okay, Taryn, you know, in terms of rent, it is charged weekly for some landlords, and some employees are paid weekly or monthly. It just depends on how your employees will pay you. Okay. And then Susan, you've got a question: how does the salary compare to those in the UK? It would just really depend on your skill set, Susan. You know, for all of you, it's very hard to compare things and to convert into New Zealand dollars, because you really have to be really in New Zealand dollars and spending it to understand your true affordability. You can do as much as you can and have a spreadsheet out and look at the cost of living. But you know, it can be very difficult to compare it when you're just doing a straight conversion.
Cool. I can see another question saying, what changes are expected to be made in the skilled migrant visa?
Yeah, the skilled migrant visa. The changes are how you're going to be awarded points. Okay. Now there's been some consultation about how that's going to look like. There's no confirmation what's going to be done, but this is why we're advising all clients to get advice, because some of the changes will negatively impact you or positively impact you. Okay, so it's really important in this real key year. There's election this year too, so if the new government comes in, there may be changes to further changes to immigration policy. So what those changes are, we don't know, but there are some coming. If you can apply now before the changes, just in case things change. So all this is down to the demand for people wanting to live and work in New Zealand, and mainly it is for that lifestyle.
I can see a question from Stephen in regards to bank accounts. Bank of New Zealand is our main sponsor, and they can certainly help you with setting up a bank account in New Zealand before you head over. So what we can do is send you out some information for our contact at the Bank of New Zealand, so you can have a chat to them about getting that all set up.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, I think the next step for all of you is to consider whether or not New Zealand is right for you. I think that's the key thing. I think you need to understand what are the motivating factors of going to New Zealand, and as alluded to before, mainly it's lifestyle. Okay. It's important for us to thank our sponsors for this webinar, which are Bank of New Zealand and Migration Cover. In terms of setting up a bank account, we'll give you an email address shortly after this webinar so that you can contact the Bank of New Zealand. In terms of Migration Cover, it's such a big move. My advice is that you can look at insurance policies to ensure that there's less risk for you. Migration Cover have a lot of policies available, including health cover and travel insurance. So go to migrationcover.com to get a quote in terms of how you can insure yourself with this move. In terms of the people that I would obviously liaise with, Matt Williams from Money Corp, they will be able to assist you with transferring your funds into New Zealand dollars. a big saving to make there because there's no bank rates. So do contact Matt for further information. In terms of setting up a bank account, please do contact Michaela Duncan from the BNZ, and she will be able to advise you on how to set up a bank account. Any other questions in terms of mortgages, etc., feel free to give Michaela an email. In terms of shipping your household belongings, etc., whether or not you're going to bring a car, etc., I would contact John Moynes from PCS Removals. PCS Removals actually helped us move our belongings here to New Zealand, and gave us a lot of advice on what you can and can't take over to New Zealand, so that you can start preparing and getting rid of what you need to get rid of, so that you can ship your household effects. And as alluded to before, contact Chris Galway from Migration Cover to get information on how you can mitigate your risk in this move, which includes getting medical insurance, getting travel insurance, and just covering yourself with this move. So go to migrationcover.com to get some information, or email Chris Galway directly. Okay. Again, one last plug to the Bank of New Zealand. Thank you very much for your support, and also to Migration Cover. Without their support, we can't put these webinars together and beam them out worldwide. So thank you very much. And if I leave you on one last pictorial, that for me sums up New Zealand in a nutshell. Beautiful mountains, heaps of space. There's some sheep in the background there, and that's a road in the South Island that a lot of people travel to get down to Queenstown, etc. So we'd like to liaise with you post webinar. You'll have our details, and we'll send you an email with a link to the recorded seminar, along with all the useful websites that we've put on this webinar. That's it for me, so thank you very much, Rachel.
Yep, thank you all for listening in. I hope you found it really, really interesting and helpful.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.